All right. Welcome to a new episode of the Sports Mecca podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Abramo. As always, I'm joined by my co host, Sam Hengeli. Today, we are previewing the upcoming 2024-25 NFL playoffs. So, no guest on the episode today, just Sam and I. Sam, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Just ready for this postseason to start. 18 weeks in NFL season. Obviously, they've done it for now 3 years now, and exciting that we finally get some NFL postseason action finally.
Yeah, absolutely. It's crazy. I'm still getting used to the 17 game schedule and then the extra week. Well, cuz they added did they add the 7 teams before the 17 regular season or is it the opposite?
Yes, so the 2020 season would have been the first year to hit the 17 playoff, and then 21, the following season, would have been when the 18 week season started, which meant 17 games for all 32 NFL teams.
Okay. Gotcha. So we will really get right into it. As I said in the preview, the intro. This is really a preview. How do you want to start? Do you want to just start by listing off the bracket on the AFC side?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. So we got the 1 seed, the Kansas City Chiefs.
Hmm.
They got the bye by going 15-2 in the regular season. Really, they went 15-1 because they played with all their backups. They get the bye into the divisional round. 2 seed, Buffalo Bills. They'll be hosting the Denver Broncos. The 3 seed, Baltimore Ravens, hosting the 6 seed, Pittsburgh Steelers. And the 4 seed, Houston Texans, hosting the Los Angeles Chargers in the 4-5 matchup. Um, Out of the bracket that I just listed on the AFC side, what stands out to you?
I think the Denver Broncos versus Buffalo Bills matchup is a very intriguing one. The Denver Broncos, that is a 7 seed. That is a very dangerous 7 seed. Right now, their offense has been clicking, even though they've dropped 2 of their last 3 games. They've averaged 25.5 points per game. The Broncos have been the leader in sacks, with Nick Bonino being having the third most sacks in the league. And then you also talk about how good Patrick Surtain the second is. He has uh, has had some 4 INTs this year, and we have a great coach in Sean Payton as well, who has done a really great job of turning the Denver Broncos around after 9 years of misery, after their long Super Bowl hangover, and um, and now they're finally back in the postseason. And then Zach Allen also has 8.5 sacks this season, so he's another guy to look out for. Um, and then you got the Buffalo Bills, who have been Josh Allen playing at an MVP level. I would pick him as my MVP this year. And he's only been sacked 14 times, so I'm going to be really intrigued at how Denver's pass rush, if Vance Joseph is going to try to run and try to like force him out of the pocket, make Josh Allen work, or if they're going to try to contain him, which I think it would be better to contain Josh Allen, force him to beat you from the pocket, and allow your secondary with Pat Sertan the second, try to let him eat in this one, and let Josh Allen beat you from there, not let him beat you from his legs. So I'm really intrigued about that. If Denver can strike first, can control the pace early, I think they could have a shot to pull off the upset. But I do expect the Buffalo Bills to get it done at home. I think it'll be a close game, but I expect Buffalo to be able to get by. But it will not be as easy of a game as you would think in a 2 versus 7.
Right. the 7 seed hasn't pulled off an upset yet since they expanded the playoffs.
Green Bay did last year, actually.
Oh, they did? Okay.
Yeah,
Who's the 2 seed that they beat?
Dallas.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I take that back. It's tough for me to, Bo Nix and Sean Payton have looked better. I thought at the beginning of the season it would be a little bit better than what Sean Payton did in his first year when he had Russell Wilson. But Nix, I mean, granted, I don't count the game that he had against the Chiefs because they had all backups, but Nix has done a better job with extending plays. And like you mentioned, Patrick Surtain, that'll be a big matchup because he'll be going up against the receivers with Keon Coleman and some of the other weapons that Josh Allen has to throw to. Buffalo, I'm confident wins that game. I don't know if it's going to be a touchdown margin. It might be a game where it could be a 6-7 point game, and then once the fourth quarter hits, Josh Allen gets a big pass play, and then they score, and then they win by 2 touchdowns. But Denver does look like a team that is built to. They'll hang around, but I agree with you. Like I don't see them pulling out a upset. And in that situation, the Broncos not winning, that still gives the Chiefs an opportunity to play 4, 5, or 6 seed. So we will just moving down the list. What's your thoughts on the other matchups we got? The Houston Texans and the LA Chargers in the 4-5 matchup, which I saw a stat ever since the Houston Texans have been a franchise, every game that they have played in the wild card weekend has been at the same time, 3:30 Eastern. They have never played a different time slot than 3:30 Eastern in the wild card round, which I thought was crazy. But how do you feel that matchup sets up?
I think we've seen this year the Houston Texans have taken a step back from their really good first year last year with D'Amico Ryan, C.J. Stroud. C.J. Stroud, rookie year, 23 TDs, 5 interceptions. This year, a little bit of a sophomore slump. His touchdowns have gone down to 20, and he's thrown 7 more interceptions with 12 this year. C.J. Stroud last year was sacked 38 times. This year, 52 times. And then you're without Tank Dell. You've been without Stephon Diggs. So this Texans team is a team that's just, even though they had a pretty strong finish to the season, that was a game against the Titans where there was really nothing at stake. But before that, they were limping into the playoffs, just like really banged up and just playing some of their worst football of the season. And then you have the Chargers right now, who had a little bit of a rough stretch, had some bad injury luck, which has typically plagued the Chargers the past few seasons. J.K. Dobbins, getting him back into the lineup now has really boosted the Chargers offense quite a bit. With Jim Harbaugh this year, unlike with Brandon Staley, they're a lot more balanced team. Justin Herbert has had fewer pass attempts, but as a result of him being a more efficient passer, which has been very effective, and one of the reasons why the Chargers have been so successful this season under Jim Harbaugh. And the Chargers are going to want to be a more balanced team, which I think in this matchup, I think they're going to play pretty balanced. I think Herbert will be able to make the throws that he'll need to, and I think this will be the most underwhelming game of this weekend. I expect the Chargers to win. It'll probably be around I would guess a 23-10 type score is what I would be looking for.
Yeah. Houston early in the season, and then Houston at the end of the season have been different stories. Stroud has had, you're right, a little bit of a sophomore slump, and with no, you said Diggs will be out.
Yeah.
Yeah, so with obviously, Tank Dell got injured in the Chiefs game towards the end of the season. It's going to be tough going up against that Chargers defense without two of his top receivers. And Lad McConkey, oh my gosh, I mean, he's over 1,000 receiving yards as a rookie, and then Quentin Johnson has been making some plays, and Herbert, yeah, more efficient, only three interceptions on the year, so. It's going to be tough for Houston to win, even though that they do get the game at home. I don't believe that's going to benefit them. Mm-hmm. So the Chargers, I do agree. It could be a little bit more higher scoring. What did you say, 23-10?
Yeah.
I'll say it's more of a – I'll give the Texans a little bit more, so I'll probably say like 26-16, but I don't see the Texans winning. It'll be that I'm more confident in I don't believe it's going to happen, but I think the Broncos have a better chance of beating the Bills than the Texans do, just because the Texans have so many key guys in the offense out.
Mm-hmm. One thing I think people probably don't realize, but I think is really kind of funny to think about, is this will be another Nickelodeon NFL broadcast. So if you're not really interested, if you don't really have much interest in this game and just want to have something to care about, maybe care about SpongeBob and Patrick doing the game, and then just some of the funny things that they'll come up with. I'm sure there'll be Patrick will talk about how stupid Texas is, and if the Texans make a poor decision in the game. So,
who won the Nickelodeon MVP last year? Remember?
I don't remember. I don't watch that, to be honest.
I know there are some viral moments that I want to say was Dak Prescott in the Cowboys playing against the Packers that week on Nickelodeon? Or was that a different match?
They played the 40. I remember they played the 49ers. That was when that was when Dallas had the worst clock misfunction, clock management misfunction I've ever seen. One of the worst I've ever seen.
I remember that. Okay, I knew the Cowboys were in a Nickelodeon game. Mm-hmm. And Patrick Starr was just shitting all over Dak Prescott and the Cowboys. I remember that.
Yeah.
That was.
I don't think a lot of kids will grow up being Dallas Cowboys fans after watching that game. Which.
No. They have. Well, it's on Fox, so I would assume that. Would the Super Bowl also have a Nickelodeon broadcast?
No, that's just Paramount, because CBS and Nickelodeon are part of Paramount, so it's part of that.
Okay, so I thought. So move on to the final wild card matchup: the Baltimore Ravens, the 3 seed, hosting the 6 seed Pittsburgh Steelers. I see a similar outcome as what we just talked about with the Texans Chargers. I'm not too confident in the Steelers keeping this again.
Yeah, I've lost a lot of confidence in the Steelers. Steelers started out pretty hot. Russell Wilson was starting to kind of have a little bit of a resurgence after his disappointing 2 years playing in Denver. But the Steelers are playing some of their worst football of the season. They looked really bad against a defense that ended up firing their DC and Lou Anarumo. They also did put up 44 in their previous match of the Bengals and completely looked terrible. They put up 10 against the Chiefs. The guy who's played really bad, and I think will probably won't last long in Pittsburgh. George Pickens. I mean, Pickens last week, he had like at least 5 targets. I think he only had 1 catch. And like, every time they threw it to him in a critical moment, he never came through. His attitude's really bad. And I just think this Steelers team is just like, they're just ready to move on to the offseason. I think this game, it could either be I could see this game being a very close game just because of a divisional game, but I could also see Baltimore, even despite the fact that Zay Flowers looks like he's going to be out for this game, I could see them just kind of pouring it on. And if the Ravens offense is going, Pittsburgh will have zero chance of being competitive in this one.
I'm looking forward to the crash out cam of George Pickens to see how he reacts on the sideline. Yeah. It feels like every week it's must see TV to see how George Pickens reacts during the game. Yeah. That's always fun. But Steelers started off hot, and then, like you mentioned, it's been really rough. With more so for their offense, it's been tough to score. I could see this game because the Ravens destroyed the Browns in their final game of the regular season. It's not going to be to that extent. I mean, what was it, 40-10 or 40-7? But it could be a game where Lamar Jackson really gets going and it becomes a blowout early. So I'm with you. I don't see the Ravens losing. So in that situation, we would have in the matchup in the divisional round, the Kansas City Chiefs who have the 1 seed, they'd host the Los Angeles Chargers, and then the Baltimore Ravens going to Buffalo. Feels like the Ravens and Bills, because they played in the 2020 wild card round.
It would have been the divisional round.
Divisional round, okay. So if that matchup happens, that'd be the second time that Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen would face each other in the playoffs?
I believe, yes, that would be true.
Okay. Man, this one is a Ravens-Bills. I mean, we want to talk about, obviously, the highlight of Mahomes, Allen, but which could be a potential AFC championship. But you got guys who have been jockeying for the MVP for this year. And I don't know about you, Sam, but both Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen, those guys are under the biggest playoff microscope out of all the quarterbacks that are in the playoffs. Like, if one of these guys continue to not make it to the AFC championship game, it's going to be really tough for their fans in the offseason.
Mm-hmm. No doubt about it. I think, I'm not sure who I would say would be on the biggest microscope. I guess you could say, as a team, I would say the Buffalo Bills have probably the more pressure than the Ravens because of the fact that the Buffalo Bills have never won a Super Bowl. They haven't been to a Super Bowl since their run in the 90s with Jim Kelly, Thurman Thomas, and all those guys. So I'd say Buffalo has a lot of pressure to get to the Super Bowl since they've knocked on the door multiple times, but the Kansas City Chiefs were in their way like 3 of those times, and then the Cincinnati Bengals ended up being in their way and a couple years ago in 2023. So I definitely would say Josh Allen would have, and the Buffalo Bills would probably have the most pressure if you want to think in that regard. I would say Lamar Jackson does have a lot of pressure. There have been his postseason resume has been very poor to this point. 2019 postseason, the Ravens were the 1 seed and they lost to the 6 seed Tennessee Titans with Derrick Henry, and he played a really poor game that day. And then they go to Buffalo the next year, and Lamar just looks terrible in that game. 2022 and is out with the injury. Tyler Huntley fumbles the ball that I believe Sam Hubbard or Trey Hendrickson returned for a touchdown. And then you had last season where they were the 1 seed. They had a pretty good chance of making the Super Bowl, but a lot of undisciplined moments in that game. They looked like they were like the lights were a little too bright for them. The Chiefs last year had been in this situation. They knew what it takes to win. The Ravens have yet to prove that. So I think mentally, I just don't know if I can trust Baltimore right in here in the mental side because they have yet to prove it. They do. You could argue on paper, the Ravens with Derrick Henry and then their receiving core with Zay Flowers, and then you have Mark Andrews as well, that on paper they should be the better complete team. But I think if you had to choose between the two, I trust the Buffalo Bills. They've won. Josh Allen is just so good in these moments. He can, and being at Buffalo too, and that you don't know what the conditions will be for that game, but I know that Josh Allen has been able to be able to handle those conditions, and I expect Buffalo to go out on top in that game.
Yeah. You mentioned, but while you were talking about the previous matchups, I've thought about this for a while. Like that Bills Bengals game in the 2022 divisional round. That one, I would that was a tough look for the Bills. But because I for sure thought that it would be Chiefs Bills in the 2022 AFC Championship game in that matchup, but yeah, Lamar Jackson, the defense for Baltimore was amazing in their matchup with the Chiefs in last year's AFC Championship, but Lamar had those 2 big interceptions. One of them double coverage that he threw in the end zone that really would have had a chance to tie that game late. So there's been a lot of misreads, and from a performance standpoint, I'd say Josh Allen has performed better in this stage than Lamar Jackson has. And because this is in Buffalo, if this was in Baltimore, I would be more confident in the Ravens of Lamar Jackson gutting out a win, but with it being in Buffalo, I don't see them losing. So we'll put them in the AFC Championship, and then the 1 seed Kansas City Chiefs hosting the 5 seed Los Angeles Chargers. This would be, correct me if I'm wrong, this would be the first time that the Chiefs would be playing, if this scenario happens, would be a divisional opponent in the Patrick Mahomes era in the playoffs, right?
Yeah, first one. The Broncos this is the Broncos' first postseason. Chargers have made the playoffs a couple times. 2018 when they lost to New England, and then 2022 when they lost to the Jacksonville Jaguars after blowing a 27-0 lead. So they've been in the playoffs a couple times, but they hadn't won I would take that back. 2018 they did beat Baltimore when Lamar Jackson's rookie year, and then they lost to New England. So Chargers and the other AFC West opponents in the Mahomes era has 1 playoff win combined thus far, which if Chargers win, it would be 2. But this will be the first time the Chiefs would have faced a divisional opponent in the postseason. And it would be fitting for the Chargers, since the Chargers have been the second best team in the AFC West for a while. They've always been like the biggest challenger to the Chiefs. Historically, you had the Raiders a couple of years in 2016, 2021. But with that being said, you have one team that's historically very good at winning close games, and then the other team that's been historically bad and they end up losing close games. The Chiefs have won, I believe, now 15 consecutive 1-score games. And if you look at the history of the Chargers, one fun fact: 2010, when they had the number one defense and the number one offense, they missed the playoffs that year because of special teams collapses, and they lost a bunch of one score games. And so you have like kind of like those two dynamics going in, and you have Jim Harbaugh, the head coach, who actually won a playoff game at Arrowhead as the Colts quarterback, I believe, in 1995. So you kind of have that going, and then you have the Chiefs three-peat going on, the quest for that right now. And you think about the Chiefs, people are like debating on like if the long layover will be good or bad for the Chiefs. I would say I think it's a good thing if you play 3 games in 11 days and you're a team that's full of experience, full of veterans. I think they know how to handle it to this. And I think having a lot more rest with Chris Jones being a little banged up, Mahomes rolling his ankle against the Cleveland Browns, I think having all that rest is going to be a very positive thing for the Kansas City Chiefs. My real question is who's going to be the left tackle? Joe Thuney, they put him at left tackle. He's been very well. The run game will suffer a little bit with him not being at left guard, but the reason why the Chiefs win Super Bowls is because of the arm of Patrick Mahomes, and you got to protect Patrick Mahomes. You're gonna win based on the throwing game, and you have D Hop, Travis Kelce, even though he's kind of like going on the downswing of his career, and you get the emergence of Marquise Brown coming back into the lineup, who hadn't played all year but came back for the Houston game. So I think there's a lot of dynamics in this one, and I think this game will be I think this will be a close game. I expect divisional games are typically close, but I'm gonna put my money on the team that wins one score games, one in the Kansas City Chiefs. I think they know how to get it done. I think the rest will help them. I think giving Andy Reid has historically been very good after a bye week, so I trust the Chiefs to be able to get it done and host the AFC Championship game at Arrowhead Stadium for the 6th time in the last 7 years.
Yeah, and I know that if the Chiefs are in the AFC Championship game, you'll be there, Sam.
Yes, I will be.
Yeah. I I don't believe the rest will affect them. I'll have to mention the NFL absolutely screwed the Chiefs by having them play 3 games in less than 2 weeks. That is absolutely ridiculous. And they won them all. But it just, I don't know why. That was just an absolute terrible idea that they tried to do it. I believe Patrick Mahomes and some of the Chiefs players had some comments about that after the Steelers game, or maybe it was after the Texans game, about the rest. It's ridiculous. Like, we're not having enough rest. The offense has been on an upswing. If the Chiefs did not have Hollywood Brown at all and he wasn't coming back, I might still be confident in their chances to win the divisional round. Super Bowl, I'd be hesitant, but Hollywood Brown isn't providing the huge plays since he's been back in the offense, but he's been more of a possession receiver. But with him just being out there has opened up the opportunity for guys like DeAndre Hopkins, for Xavier Worthy, for Travis Kelce to find a little bit of a bigger role. And I know Chiefs fans might have criticized the Xavier Worthy pick, but the last month and a half, he has been in different formations, whether it's running the ball or as a receiver. His route tree has been improved. Worthy has been he's had a solid rookie season. I think Worthy has been really improving and has taken over that second receiver role, whereas I would say he was really on that third receiver role most of the year. But the left tackle situation with Joe Thuney, I'm hoping for the Chiefs, if they can keep him in that left tackle spot, because when we've seen the rookie Kingsley and Wanye Morris, it has been a really big issue. And it's not just, oh, Patrick Mahomes is getting hit. It's the penalties. It's pushing them back in different, from a 1st and 10 to 1st and 20, 3rd and 10 to 3rd and 20. And that's most of the middle of the season. Offensively, it was very difficult for them to get traction, but defensively, they have looked better. I'm not going to say that the defense is what it was last year. I think it's going to be good enough to win this game. And the Chargers do play the Chiefs really tight. So, and I don't see this game being a big blowout, because the Chiefs have had some recently matchups in the divisional round where it has not been close. They blew out most of the game against the Miami Dolphins. It was a defensive struggle, and then they turned it on a little bit late and they won, I believe, 26-7. And then they blew out the Pittsburgh Steelers in the 2021 divisional round, and then in the 2022 divisional round, I forgot who they play in the 22 divisional.
That game was close, but
Yeah.
also Patrick Mahomes rolled his ankle in like the first quarter. So, in the way the Chiefs' offense was rolling when Mahomes was healthy, that game, it seemed like that game was going to be a blowout, and then that injury happened, and then that game became a little bit closer than I think everybody would have expected that game to be.
Right. So, it could be a 27-17, 27-20 I think the Chargers, they're a well-coached team under Jim Harbaugh, and that is definitely shown in the first year. But would they go into Kansas City? I don't see them losing. So that will once again set up the Bills Chiefs. This time it'll be in Kansas City for the AFC Championship. Oh, Sam, I know a lot of people, a lot of national media members that talk about the NFL have been really praising this Buffalo Bills team, and this could be the year that they get over that hump. The Chiefs, yeah, they're good, but they're just that they might just not be that sharp as what they had been in the past. In that potential matchup, who do you have prevailing?
Okay. So I kind of look at it this way. This is good. I'm going to use an NBA analogy. So think of it this way. The Kansas City Chiefs are the Golden State Warriors with Curry, Durant, Draymond, Klay Thompson. The Buffalo Bills are the Houston Rockets with Chris Paul and James Harden, Clint Capella, Eric Gordon. There were years, I think 2018 was the year people thought, Houston could win this, can beat the Warriors, and I think there was some vulnerability that the Warriors had that year, and Houston was continue to make that step up. But Houston never beat them, never beat the Warriors. The Warriors had that winning pedigree. Chris Paul, James Harden have never won a championship, never had that pedigree. So I think with that being said, I think I'm going to go with the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs know how to have been here before, won multiple times. I think we're going to see a new dynamic of the Chiefs offense. They always take it up a notch. You see the playbook just opens up a lot more in the postseason. Andy Reid doesn't really call simple play. He doesn't go into his bag as much during the regular season. The Chiefs treat the regular season like it's a marathon, and then they save all their energy for the postseason. They just get enough to get done. And I think that the Chiefs will get it done. I do worry about the weak link that the secondary of Najee Johnson. He's been really bad since the Justin Watson injuries in week 6 against the 49ers. He's gotten carved up by many good receivers throughout the year. That does worry me some, but I do trust the Chiefs to have in their coaching staff against Sean McDermott, who has yet to prove himself. to be able to win a Super Bowl and this Buffalo Bills coaching staff. So I'm just gonna go with what I know. There will be a year where the Chiefs don't win the AFC, don't win the Super Bowl, but I'm not ready to say that yet. And the Chiefs will finally do what they haven't done yet, is to make the Super Bowl 3 consecutive years. We can't talk about three-peat before you win your own division 3 years in a row. So I think the Chiefs will make get that step closer to the three-peat by winning the AFC for the third consecutive season.
Yeah, I agree with you. It might be boring since we've all picked the same teams to come out of the AFC, but until I'm with you, it's more of there's a trust factor. I trust the Chiefs. I've actually seen them get through, and if last year's team beat Buffalo, then I don't know. Like last year was the perfect storm for Buffalo to beat them. They finally got the Chiefs in Buffalo. The Chiefs were on the road. They were a 3 seed, first road game for Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs. There's a lot of elements to that game that were pointing Buffalo's way, and it didn't happen. And the crazy thing is, like, Josh Allen has not been really the reason why they've lost these games. He's been very good. It's been either Sean McDermott, they ran the fake punt with Damar Hamlin last year. The defense let them down in the playoffs against the Bengals in the 2022 playoffs. So it hasn't been much of Josh Allen like choking or not living up to the hype. It's been other factors, the defense, Sean McDermott. So it could be like, I have a feeling that it could be a game that's similar to that 2021 game, 13 seconds, where both quarterbacks are in the zone, and the home field advantage will help the Chiefs in this one. But I'm with you. The Najee Johnson and the secondary with the Chiefs could be an issue. I don't also believe the Bills secondary is. I think it's a little bit better than the Chiefs, but it's not something that is over like a huge overwhelming advantage. So it's more of what it's a known commodity. So moving on to the NFC side, we got the 1 seed Detroit Lions. They get the bye, and then the 4 seed Los Angeles Rams, the 5 seed Minnesota Vikings. Now, if you didn't know, that game was scheduled to be in LA, but now it's going to be in Glendale, Arizona, because of the fires that are occurring in the Los Angeles area. So that's going to be moved. So our prayers are out for the people in California, especially the Los Angeles County. They're dealing with that, having to move their homes, evacuating. But the 3 seed Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 6 seed Washington Commanders, and then the 2 seed Philadelphia Eagles and the 7 seed Green Bay Packers. I asked you, Sam, what stood out to you in the AFC. What stands out to you on the NFC side?
I think Saquon Barkley and the Philadelphia Eagles. You're seeing a resurgence of the running back position this season with Saquon Barkley almost breaking Eric Dickerson's record. If he didn't sit out week 18, he would have had a very good chance of doing that. His move when he did the backwards jump leap, probably one of the craziest plays I've ever seen in the history of football or just in sports in general, with that pure athleticism. And he also, I do like Jalen Hurts as well on this Eagles team, and this is kind of their bounce back year after getting off to a hot start, and then the Super Bowl hangover eventually got to them. So I do like It's good to see the Eagles back in Super Bowl contention. And I think there's just a lot of parity as well in the NFC side. I think when you see an AFC side, you feel like it's set up for a Bills Chiefs AFC title game. But in NFC, you could honestly make an argument that any of these teams could win the NFC. I think I would say about like at least 4 or 5 teams you could say currently right now in that side of the conference can easily make the Super Bowl, which the NFC has historically been a conference that has had the most parity. We have not really seen a NFC team go back to back, make back to back Super Bowl appearances, and so I think there's a lot of parity there. I cannot wait for the NFC side and see who comes out, because you can really make a case for a lot of these teams that are in here. About like 4 or 5 of them can make the Super Bowl, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. So let's run down the matchups in the wild card round. We'll start with Philadelphia Eagles hosting the Green Bay Packers. For me, Jalen Hurts, did he come out of concussion protocol? So he's playing.
So, yes.
Okay. Eagles have been really running on all cylinders lately. I'm confident in them continuing that at home, but Packers could be we mentioned how I thought a 7 seed had never beaten a 2 seed until you corrected me. Packers could, I think, have a very good chance in this game, but with Saquon Barkley, and it's just a very well put together Philadelphia Eagles team. So I see them advancing in that round.
Yeah. I don't really have a lot of confidence in the Packers. I feel like they're a team that's kind of like not really playing their best football right now. Jordan Love, he's been a little bit up and down this year. He's struggled in like certain matchups. I just don't feel a lot of confidence in Green Bay winning this game. They were pretty good last year in the spot, but I think Philly's just a way more disciplined football team, so I don't think they'll be able to repeat as a 7 seed winning in this type of game.
Yeah. 3 seed Tampa Bay Buccaneers and 6 seed Washington Commanders. I don't know about you, but this could be the most entertaining game of the wild card weekend. The Buccaneers, Baker Mayfield was playing well. And then first year quarterback with Jaden Daniels and the renaissance of the Commanders. I could see this game being a 34-31. I could see it being a very up-tempo game. But I do actually don't have the home team winning this one. I'm confident in the Commanders pulling this one out on the road.
Yeah, we look at this matchup. Both of these quarterbacks are Heisman Trophy winning quarterbacks, with Jaden Daniels winning it last year and then Baker Mayfield winning it in 2017. So you have 2 Heisman Trophy winning QBs. Every Commanders have been probably the most entertaining team to watch. Yeah, I want to give a lot of credit to Dan Campbell. Did a really good job in Atlanta. Unfortunately, it just didn't work out at the end for him, but he's finally got back into the head coaching ranks and has turned a franchise that has just been completely miserable in like all aspects in football. Like, they had bad ownership. That finally changed after Dan Snyder finally sold the team. And they finally drafted a franchise quarterback in Jaden Daniels and brought new life into this franchise. And I remember the game against Chicago where they won on the Hail Mary. And then the Dallas game where they did have an 80-yard TD pass, I believe, Terry McLaurin, but they missed the extra point. But they've had so many like fun like games, so I think a lot of people are going to want to root for the Commanders in this one. I'll pick the Commanders as well. I think they're a very tough team, and I think with their just the way that they play, and I think that there's an aura around Jaden Daniels. I just really like that over Tampa. But I think the one matchup I'm really excited for is Mike Evans versus Marshawn Lattimore. A lot of previous like beef history with them, with Marshawn Lattimore being New Orleans, and obviously with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Mike Evans. I expect that to be a really physical matchup. So definitely something I'll keep my eye on watching that matchup as well as the two quarterbacks.
Marshawn Lattimore and Mike Evans are going to tussle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I cannot. That'll be fun. That'll be very fun.
I saw a meme of Baker. It was Baker Mayfield. Bucky Irving runs it for 7 yards, and then it's a video meme of Evans and Lattimore just going at it, just pounding each other. Remember what was that? Do you remember that fight between Cortland Finnegan?
Oh yes, Andre Johnson. That's
and Andre Johnson.
That's
Yeah,
an all timer right there. That's an all timer.
Maybe we get that type of fight after the play. Unfortunately, it's kind of boring, man. We have the same picks. Maybe we change it up. Yeah. Rams going and moving that game's moved into Glendale, so I'd say they would still have a home base. Minnesota Viking fans would have to travel a little bit more south for that matchup between the Rams and Vikings. Vikings, Rams. I'm going with the road team with Minnesota here. What about you?
I'm actually going to go Rams. We'll pick opposites this one. I think one of the things I do concern with the Rams, though, is the Rams do struggle in the first quarter. They have averaged less than 2 points a game. The Vikings are second best with 6.4. But I do like Matthew Stafford does really well against the blitz, which Minnesota's defense has lived off of. They're going to blitz a lot, but Matthew Stafford's QBR is about 103, I believe, with against the blitz. So I really trust that. I also, a stat right now, teams who played the Detroit Lions the previous week are currently 6-10. So I think the odds are against Minnesota in that regard. So give me the Rams. I think the Rams will play with heavy hearts with the terrible devastation that's been going in Los Angeles. So I think they're going to play with a heavy heart, play for the city and those people. And I think the Rams will get it done in Glendale.
Yeah. Are the lights going to be too bright for Sam Darnold? Whereas Matthew Stafford's been there. It's different playing in that environment in the regular season and then having to go on the road in the playoffs. And Minnesota really would have, obviously both you benefit from getting the 1 seed, but I would have been more confident in the Lions. Let's say they had lost that game to the Vikings. I would have been more confident in the Lions having to go on the road in the wild card round than I would say the Vikings. But I'm still pulling for Minnesota to come out of here. But in that situation, we would get the 1 seed Detroit Lions. And again, they would play the Minnesota Vikings, so it would be a rematch back in Detroit. And then the 2 seed Philadelphia Eagles would host who do we have in that matchup?
Oh, so it'd be Rams versus Eagles for me, and then it would be
Rams
Vikings
versus Eagles for you, and then Vikings, Lions.
No, if we picked Commanders, so it'd be the 6 seed Commanders playing the Lions, and then you would have Vikings versus Eagles. So we would have like the Eagles playing the team we ended up picking.
Okay, in that situation, let's just go this way. Are you confident? What's your confidence level with the Eagles and Lions both making it out of the divisional round.
I think I have a lot of confidence. Definitely with the Lions at home in Detroit, I really trust them, and them getting back Alex Anzalone back from injury. So he got injured. Got injured during Week 11 when they beat the Jacksonville Jaguars, I believe. But during that time, the Lions did give up 30 plus points, but they have yet to give up 30 plus points when Alex Anzalone has been in the lineup. So I do have a lot of faith that Detroit with him being back, and I think the Jane Daniels being a rookie, I think I'm gonna just trust Detroit to be able to get it done at home. And then I think in the Eagles Rams matchup, I I do think a team that plays typically indoors going into the Northeast, which will be probably a pretty cold game, I would guess, and going into like the turf there, I like the Eagles to be able just to have that advantage. I think having home field in that regard is a very good benefit to have. So I do trust the Eagles to move on from the the Rams.
Yeah. Likewise, I'm in agreement with you. Um I do see the Lions and Eagles moving on to face each other, but this one would be in Detroit. So in that situation, I'm interested in what your thoughts are for that NFC Championship game. You got Jared Goff, Jalen Hurts, both quarterbacks have been to a Super Bowl, but both have not won. I'm. This is tough. I'm actually leaning Eagles in a matchup that would feature two quarterbacks trying to get to a second Super Bowl.
I agree. I think the main reason why I feel really good about Philly winning in this matchup is because I just don't trust Dan Campbell to like make the simple plays. Like I remember I was thinking about the movie Moneyball, where when they lost Game 5 in that movie, and then they had like the like radio guy talk about how you have to steal, you have to bunt, and nobody reinvents baseball. Well, Dan Campbell, you'd have to punt in football. You have to take the point. You can't go for it on fourth down like every time. You can't fake punt. Like you have to do like some of those little things. You have to play field position. You have to take the points when you need to. You can't go for it on fourth and inches to like be able just to hang on to the football a little bit longer. You have to kick it off sometimes and allow your defense to get the job done. Dan Campbell failed to prove that last year, that which cost them that trip to the Super Bowl. Like until I get proven otherwise, I just trust that Philadelphia will not make those mistakes that Detroit makes. That mostly trusting analytics too much, and I think that just simple making the right moves at the right time, right risk at the right time. I just think Philadelphia will be able to play a smart football game.
Yeah. I believe when was the last time an NFC team lost in back-to-back NFC Championship games? Was it Andy Reid's Philadelphia Eagles?
Yes, that sounds
Okay.
about right.
Because the Niners were in the 2012. Well, the Niners were in it from 2011 to 2013, but the 2012 one, they actually made it to the Super Bowl. So I guess they would try to avoid becoming the Philadelphia Eagles of old. Who we in this scenario, we both have a Super Bowl 57 rematch. Both teams would actually wear the same colors because it would it be no
Yeah, that would be because
yeah, because New Orleans, New Orleans is in the NFC.
the
Yeah.
NFC was the road team, and then the AFC was the home team. So it'll be
Okay.
flipped this.
Yeah, so it'd be basically the same uniform combination. Uh I know I live in Kansas City. Well, we both live in Kansas City. I actually, it's really tough because I believe that this Eagles team is more complete than they were in 27. Sorry, in 2 years ago. Um, but I also believe that the 2022 Chiefs were better than this year's Chiefs team. And are you gonna? I mean, are we gonna go with the three-peat or finally Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni getting over the hump? Uh, I actually am gonna go with the Philadelphia Eagles to win that matchup. I don't know. What about you?
It is a tough decision, but I think I'm gonna trust the Chiefs. I'm gonna say the three-peat happens. It just feels like it's just you just watch the Chiefs this year, the way they won some of these games. It just feels like it's just destiny. I don't know how to explain it, but you can argue that the Eagles are the better team. But I would say Mahomes and Andy Reid are the greatest QB coach combo. I mean Brady and Belichick will have something to say about that, but I think Andy Reid is just destined to have a three-peat under his resume, and I think Patrick Mahomes. This is going to be one of the things that what solidifies his legacy in the NFL. And Travis Kelce as well as the greatest tight end. So I do. Even though I do feel like the Eagles just have a lot more talent than with Saquon adding Saquon Barkley. It was a close game last time, but I just feel like destiny is just calling for the Chiefs to win the Super Bowl. So again, the Chiefs will not win the Super Bowl every year, but until I get proven otherwise, I'm just gonna roll with that pick because that pick has hit more likely than not the past couple years.
It's the old New England Patriots with Tom Brady. You know, you can't now. They never three-peated. Nobody has in the Super Bowl era, but in terms of picking against them to lose, it's tough because you got to really put a lot of faith in the opposition because those guys like Mahomes, like Andy Reid, have proven that since they've been together, they've been a really tough out.
Mm-hmm.
Since we have the Super Bowl pick, we both have difference of opinions, though. I am curious which, who do you think is under the most pressure to out of? I mean, you can go coach, you can go team, you can go player to finally get over the hump and win a championship.
I think Dan Campbell is probably under the most pressure to make the Super Bowl. Now he's turned the Detroit Lions around, but I think his gambles, his analytics, I think people will say if he doesn't make the Super Bowl, I think people will question out he's never going to win the big game because he takes the biggest risks. So I think that I'm going to say Dan Campbell is probably under the biggest microscope out of everybody just because of what happened last year, and the Detroit Lions have never made a Super Bowl. So if the Detroit Lions, it feels like their window could be closing soon as well. So I think you have to try to make a Super Bowl at least one time in this era of Detroit Lions football, and if you don't make it to the Super Bowl, you're just going to feel like less and less confident that we'll ever see a Detroit Lions play in a Super Bowl.
Yeah. I would still go with Buffalo as the most team under pressure. Just imagine if it's a Buffalo Bills and Detroit Lions Super Bowl.
It would be kind of similar to the Cubs playing the Indians in 2016. It'd be a little similar. I would say probably a Browns versus Lions one would be a little bit more would be similar to that, but you have one team that's never made the Super Bowl, and then you have another that's had a stretch where they made four straight and just failed to win one. So you have two kind of cursed teams going at each other in that Super Bowl. So that would definitely be a really fun storyline for that Super Bowl.
Yeah, I did research from 1999. So when the Rams and Titans played, the infamous he was down at the 1 yard line for the Titans. That is the last Super Bowl between the St. Louis Rams and the Titans that involved a matchup of two teams who had never won a Super Bowl before. Like recently, like
Yeah.
from 2000, from that Super Bowl on, every matchup that we've seen in the Super Bowl has featured at least one team that had already won a Super Bowl. So Bills Lions would fit that bill. I mean that'd be something. So um but Sam, once again, appreciate you coming on. For the listeners, different episode. We don't have a guest to interview this time. We have many interviews coming up with guests for the rest of the year for down the road in 2025. But with the NFL playoffs starting this weekend and then carrying over to February, we thought this would be a great opportunity to do an NFL preview episode. So for the people who are listening on our platforms, YouTube, subscribe, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, make sure to subscribe and follow us as we'll be continuing to post more episodes as the year gets older. So Sam, appreciate you coming on, setting this up. It was great.
No problem. I'm excited about the NFL playoffs, and glad we were able to talk about it tonight. And my continued thoughts and prayers are out with the people in Los Angeles with the wildfires as well. And stay safe. I hope everybody there is staying safe. Everybody's evacuated, and I'll be praying for you all this weekend in the future. So
Yeah, that's likewise. Message definitely is the same here. I know we've had a lot of California residents or people who have been in California that have come on our podcast. So, hopefully that if they're still in the California area, that they're being safe. So, hopefully the playoffs deliver for this year and we get some good, exciting finishes. I'm happy we had some differences. I mean, most of it we did have the same picks, but different Super Bowl picks, and then a different matchup in the divisional round could be different. But glad it wasn't all the same. But anyways, we will continue to put more episodes out. So have a good night, everyone.